start with a neck stretch specifically for your traps. If we're getting pretty tight and stiff here, here's one to do for neck flexion, okay? On all fours, I just want us to stick the top of our head onto the ground, and all we're gonna do, very gently roll forward onto your head. Nice and gentle, okay? And then back. Hold those for about 15 to 30 seconds if you're comfortable until you find some release. This next stretch is for your traps when we're feeling really tight in here. Maybe we have some tension headaches. Okay, what I'm gonna get you to do, take your hand, put it behind you, and pull. Then just tilt our head to the side. Okay? You can also do this once you have that hand position, tilt to the side, and you can also tilt down. Okay, we hold this until we find some relief in our position. All right, this exercise is for upper back tightness or shoulder mobility. Okay, it's called a cat-cow. We're gonna start on all fours. Okay, and what I want us to do is try and tuck our head and tuck our butt at the same time. Tucking, best you can, and then I want us to do the exact opposite. Stick your butt out and lift your head up. Try and look towards the ceiling. Try to drop the belly button to the floor. We just repeat this pattern. Roughly 5 times should be good. Okay, so these next couple stretches are going to be for the T-spine. Okay, what we're going to do, same thing, on all fours. I want one hand behind our neck, and I just want us to drop our elbows down to the ground. Okay, and then try and lift up, rotate towards the ceiling as best you can. What that's going to do is try and open up our T-spine in an active way, using our muscles a little bit. Do about 5 each, should be good for you. All right, another T-spine stretch for tight upper mid-back to open up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lay down in a bent position with our legs, okay, and hands together. All I want us to do is take this hand, slide it across our body, and try and reach out, opposite side, as far as you can, and then we just repeat, okay? Slide it across, and hold it, okay? Repeat about 3 to 5 times each side. Okay, to work on our shoulder mobility, if we're tight in the shoulders, tighten the shoulder blades, the scapula, I have a couple exercises for us to do. First one, called the reverse angel. We're gonna lay on our stomach, okay? Hands are gonna go above our head here. From a relaxed position, I want us to lift gently off the ground with the upper body. So try and pull your elbows to your tailbone, okay? And reset, and again, reverse angel. Do about 5 to 10 of those. That's gonna be really good for your shoulder blades. We're gonna start doing some active work with that to try and strengthen and create some range of motion in your shoulder blades. Okay, the next one we're gonna do, this is a little bit more of a progressed exercise. If you can't do it, that's fine, but I'm gonna introduce it to you. What we're doing, I'm gonna get you to do it in a push-up position, but the start looks like this. I want us to imagine we're hugging a ball and we're arching our shoulder blades. We're pulling them apart. That's step 1. Step 2, we're trying to squeeze our shoulder blades together. From the back, squeeze our ponytail, if you can imagine that. And then we pull them apart, imagine you're hugging a ball. Okay, what that looks like put all together is the shoulders being pulled apart and squeezed together in a push-up or kneeling push-up position. Okay? Squeeze the shoulder blades together, pulling them apart. Squeeze them together, pulling them apart. Trying not to bend our elbows. Do this about 5 to 10 times. As you get more comfortable with it, you can probably do 10, potentially off of the feet if we have the ability to. This is also going to be working on strengthening the rhomboids, the shoulder blades, and just creating more active range of motion. All right, for the people who have rotator cuff injuries or lack of mobility and they've never really rehabbed it, this is going to be a good passive stretch to just start trying to open up mobility in our rotator cuff and in our shoulder, okay? Laying on our back, elbows 90 degrees from our torso, okay? What we're gonna do from our hands just staying vertical, we're gonna drop them all the way back into an externally rotated position. You don't have to know what that word means, but it's above your head. Okay, and then from this position, a lot of people might be tight and might not be able to go all the way down, that's fine. I just want you to hold it for about 30 seconds or until you find a change in mobility, okay? Once we find a bit of a change here, then we can come back up into that vertical position, and then we're gonna drop down into internal rotation. You might find you can only come down to here, that's okay. Just the same thing, hold it for as long as you can, hopefully trying to get down to the ground. If you can't, don't push it, because we do not want this shoulder to come up. Keep the shoulder on the ground and stretch with what range of motion you have. Awesome. Okay, for this one, this is gonna be good. A nice little reset in the middle of your work day, or something you do in the beginning of the day or at night. It's called the M to A because of the position we're putting our hands in. So what we're gonna do from the side, we're just gonna hinge forward a little bit, just a little bit of knee bend, okay? And then from here, I want you to take your hands and face the thumbs down, arms are straight, okay? From here, what I want us to do is make a big M with our arms. Okay, squeeze your shoulder blades back best you can. You should end in a position with your thumbs facing up. This is considered the best posture in the world because we are externally rotated and we're squeezing our shoulder blades back. Okay, then we just go right through, back through that M and down. Okay, creating the M, ending in the A position, the best position, posture in the world. Okay, do this about 3 to 5 times. Developing some active scapular mobility and active strength. Awesome. Who have poor posture or the shoulders pulled forward, what we want to be able to do is stretch our pecs out. If we know we have tight pecs or we have forward tilted posture, this is going to be a good one for us. It's just a pec stretch against a door jamb or on a wall, but I'm going to show you a door jamb for this example. All I want us to do is set our hand on an edge of the wall, and all we're going to do is slightly rotate away until you feel some tightness in through here. Okay, we can hold that for as long as you would like until we feel a little bit of release or a little bit of the stretch dissipating. Okay, once we feel comfortable in there, we can also go a little bit higher to get a little bit of the lower pec, okay, and a little bit lower to get a different angle, more upper pec. Okay, do that both sides, roughly between 10 and 30 seconds each. All right, here's another pec stretch for us. It's also very good prep if we were to do any shoulder pressing movement. So when you're potentially working out on your own and you're doing shoulder presses and you know you have tight pecs, this will be an excellent one to do. We're gonna start on our back on the ground, okay? And the elbows are 90 degrees from our torso, okay? It looks like a shoulder press from the ground. Okay, all we're gonna do is try and keep our elbow and our wrist on the ground for as long as we possibly can, and then very gently, very slowly press upwards. Okay, once we get to this point, we might find we raise up a little bit because we don't have shoulder mobility. That's okay. Try and hold that position until we change range of motion. And if not, that's totally fine. We'll just continue with this press for 10 reps. All right, for all of the people who have low back pain, you probably already know this one, or if you've ever done yoga, you probably know this one, child's pose, okay? So what we're gonna do is on our knees, I just like to put my hands out in front and then drop my butt back and stretch through here and hold. We also get a little bit of a lat stretch through here as well if you're tight here. Okay, and all you're doing is leaning back, drop your butt down as low as you can, and hold. Okay, you can hold that for as long as you like until you have relief. 30 seconds to a minute, up to you. Another low back relieving stretch that we can do, especially if you've just finished a workout or lifting and you know that you have a pretty sore back, a day of walking as well, for example, this is going to be a very good one just to stretch out our erectors and try and relieve our muscles in our spine. Okay, so all we're doing is laying on our back. Okay, this position might be great for a lot of you, but what we can do after this is just tuck our knees to our chest, and if you would like, if you can, grab your hands and pull. And just relax in that. What that's doing is stretching out our erector muscles that are attaching from our hip to our ribs, or our hip all the way up our spine. Okay, if this is painful for you, stay in this position, okay? All right, the next one we're gonna do hits our erectors a little bit, our quadratus lumborum. If anybody's been told that they need to stretch that out, you don't have to know the muscle otherwise. And it's also a lat stretch and a side core stretch. Okay, so what we're gonna do, as best as you can, cross your legs. If we don't have mobility there, it can just generally be a bent leg position, ideally with one leg slightly on top of the other. Okay, if we have the mobility, feel free to go for it. Tuck the leg all the way over. Okay, what we do to start with, whichever leg is trapped underneath that hip, okay, that same arm is gonna go up, reaching above us, and we wanna go directly lateral. Not leaning forward and not leaning backward, leaning directly lateral, sideways. Okay, we're just gonna reach and stretch. You can feel this in your neck, you can feel this in your trap, you can feel this, or your lat, you can feel this in your core, potentially in the lower back, our erectors, and we might also feel it in our hip a little bit. Okay, so all of those are fine, and hold that for about 30 seconds, or as long as you would like, until you feel change. Next up is for our people with tight glutes. I'm gonna get you to lay on your back, okay, in a hip press position. All I want us to do is tuck one leg over the other, and as best as you can, pull both legs towards your chest. If you can reach your leg and grab it and pull, that's great. If you can't, one option you could do is put yourself close to a wall, and where my foot is here, you could put your foot against the wall and just lean and hold that stretch. Okay? For the people who just want to work in a more progressed fashion for their glute stretch, and this is a very much a stretch for them, the next step to progress it is to take our hand and push our knee down and away to create some external rotation in that hip. Okay? Holding that for about 30 seconds, whatever you would like, and then we can just switch and do the same thing. Another very similar glute stretch option for people that aren't comfortable going down to the ground and or have something about this height. What we can do is just place our hands on the blocks or whatever you have, ideally taking that leg up in a straight position, dropping that knee down, and throw our leg back. I'll turn this sideways. Pop the leg up and try and drop down, scoot that butt down, and if we can, elbows down onto the blocks as well. That's going to give you a nice good stretch throughout that glute. Okay, and then to come up, we just slowly get ourselves out of it. Okay, same thing, you can hold that for 30 seconds each, roughly, or until you feel change. For our people with tight hip flexors in through here who potentially might get pain, tightness, or know that they have an anterior pelvic tilt, this kind of position, this stretch is going to be for you. Okay, all I want us to do is get into a half kneel. Okay, and then all we have to do is squeeze our butt and tuck it like a dog tucks its tail, and then just lean forward slightly. You should feel a pretty good stretch throughout the hip flexor and potentially even the quad. All we're doing is holding this. One note, what we do not want to see is not squeezing our butt and then leaning forward extremely low and having an arch here. We could potentially cause some back pain and do more damage than benefit, so make sure we're squeezing and tucking the butt. You shouldn't need to lean forward much. Hold that for about between 15-30 seconds or until you feel positive change. Okay, for our quads and our hip flexors, a more progressed stretch is the couch stretch. So what we're gonna do is on all fours facing away from ideally a couch or a chair. You don't have to fit your ankle on it and have the knee on the ground. We can just relax the ankle in a position comfortable for you. The knee closer to the couch or chair is going to be a lot harder and a lot more extreme and intense of a stretch. Farther away is going to be more regressed, more reasonable for us. All we're doing in this position, and as a side note, you might want a little bit of a cushion underneath this knee. That can be a sweater, it can be a pillow, whatever you need. Okay? All we're doing is popping back up into that half kneel and then squeezing the butt, keeping that tight we're gonna hold this position. This is quite intense throughout the quad, maybe the hip flexor as well. If we aren't squeezing our butt and keeping a neutral position, and it looks like this, we might get some low back pain. Make sure we're not doing that. We're staying up and we're squeezing our butt, okay? The next area we're stretching are our adductors, or our inside thigh. If we find we have trouble with sumo squats or wide squats, this would be a good thing to stretch out. It might just in general be good for our quad or our legs as well for general squats. Okay, this one's gonna, it looks like a frog. It's called the frog pose. Okay, we're just throwing our knees out laterally. Okay, and all I want us to do is walk our hands forward as best as we can and hold that. Some people can drop all the way down onto their elbows. You don't have to, but you can if you progress to that point. Okay, we can just hold this, and if you would like, another progression is flossing our hips back and our hips forward through this position to really stretch that inside groin adductor area. Good. Another adductor inside thigh stretch that we can do if that is not very comfortable for our knees is just sitting on our butt, knees going out wide and feet together. All we're doing here is tuck our feet towards our crotch as close as we can get it, and nice deep breath in. Just lean forward gently. Okay, do not pull, do not have any intense weight here. Some people may seen that can cause a lot of pain and issues and potential tears and ligaments in our hips. So no intense weights here, just your elbows gently. Okay, nice hold there. 30 seconds or until we feel positive change. Okay, next body part we're going to stretch out is our hamstrings. Okay, so a really easy way to do this, just off of our knees, okay? Popping one leg into, we can start in a half kneel, and all you do from here is straighten that leg out and hold in this position, okay? Ideally, we're having our hips square to the toe. We don't want to be turned out because we'll be stretching our adductor and groin instead. Keep those hips square. Okay, we can move down if we like. This is too difficult for us. I have another solution I'll show later. All right, another hamstring stretch we can do that's a little bit easier and we don't have to go onto the ground for. Taking anything of any height, it doesn't have to be this high. We're just gonna pop our foot onto it, on the heel. And then from here, all we do is imagine you're sticking your butt out. Okay, that's gonna lengthen and maximize the stretch in the hamstring, so we don't have to lean forward much. Once we've stuck our butt out and back a little bit and our hips are square, just a gentle lean forward. We don't have to touch our toe, and just hold. You should feel a stretch. Can be anywhere between the calf, back of knee, or back of thigh. Any spot is fine so long as you're feeling the stretch. You're doing good. You can hold that for 15, 30 seconds, or up to maybe potentially over a minute until we see a little bit of a positive change. Next, we're moving on to the calf and the ankle. So if you know you're really tight in here, or we don't have very good ankle mobility and we can't squat down very low, this is going to be a good stretch for us. So all we're doing, if you have a stair step or a raised ledge, right now I'm using a bumper plate because I don't have one right now. All you need is a raised ledge, and we're just going to pop our ball of our foot on the elevated ledge. Then all we're going to do is drop our heel down. What this looks like, I'll just demo here. Ball of the foot on the ledge. All we want to do is drop down and see how low we can do. Go. Okay? From this position, ideally, if this is easy for us, then what we can do is focus on one more than the other, and then alternate sides and pull. Okay? For some people, say you're just doing this on some elevated raised area, I will caution you, stability is hard. It would be great if we had something to hold on to, so a stair step with a floor jam or a railing would be ideal. This stretch is more specifically for ankle mobility, but it is still for calf as well. Okay, I would be doing this as prep for a squat, or if we're just feeling generally tight in this area. Okay, you can do it on it's essentially into that half kneel again. All we're gonna do is lean forward, pushing the knee forward as far as you can, okay? Trying to keep the heel on the ground, and then all we're doing is holding this position. You should feel a stretch in the calf. For some of you, you may feel some restriction to the front side, like I do. That's totally fine. Hold this, and after 30 seconds, a minute, hopefully we see some positive change. Okay, so if we have a roller at home, that opens us up to a couple more advanced mobility movements that we can work on. To start, we're gonna go top to bottom again, starting with overhead shoulder mobility. Okay, what we're gonna do is setting the roller up to about mid-back, or for our ladies, bra strap height. Okay, laying on that there. What I would like us to do is taking our hands, okay, right in front of us, nice and straight. Nice deep breath in, and breathe out as we extend over the roller. Be very gentle with this. Don't go farther if you have pain. Okay, and ideally, we can go all the way over into an extension position until our thumbs are actually touching the ground. Our head can rest on the ground as well. Okay, and just holding this position. We can reset a couple times if we like, and then go back into our hold. Okay. Progress exercise / stretch we can do for our upper back and our T-spine if we're really tight in here and we're hunched over. This is a really good movement to reverse that, especially after a long day of potentially sitting. This is going to be really good for our T-spine and upper back. Very similar to the first exercise we did. We're setting up potentially at the top where the ribs start, or a little bit higher, and we can place that position anywhere along the ribs that's comfortable for you. It'll be less intense as we go up on the ribs, more intense as we go lower. Okay, so a good rule of thumb is start a little higher, and if that's easy for you, you can scoot it down. Okay, I'm gonna start mid-back, okay, and then all we're doing, really important, hug yourself. I want you to wrap your arms around yourself, to squeeze the shoulder blade, pull the shoulder blades apart, so we can actually get a little bit more range of motion. All we're doing from this point is relaxing and extending our back until our head can touch the ground. If we can't, that's fine. Ideally though, we can relax in this position, and we're just gonna hold until we feel some positive change. Excellent. Okay. Another thing that we can work on in this position, the same position, is if we're really tight in our lats, we can get that right away here. So same thing, set up in the mid-back, arms wrapped so our shoulder blades are out of the way. All we're gonna do is very gently rotate onto the side, and you'll feel, if you're sore there, you'll immediately feel your lat, a big chunk of muscle in through here. Might be pretty tight, might be a little bit sore. All you do is rotate onto it and off of it, okay? Rolling through there. If you'd like, and you don't have to, a progression is gonna be rolling up and down on that lat, okay? Not recommended for beginners, but you can try it if you'd like. Just be very gentle with yourself, okay? And then obviously you would do the other side. Another thing we can add to our low back pain, if we have a roller at home, this can potentially be a nice relieving position, as well as if we have the hunched over, tight upper back pulled over. This is going to be a nice way to reverse it, and or a nice, hopefully, a good way to release our low back pain. What we're gonna do is we're gonna set this up at about our tailbone, okay? And we're gonna lay on this vertically, okay? Just along the spine. All we're gonna do is lay on it like this. Arms can go out to the side. You can even extend your legs if you like. And you can just hold it, okay? This might just help release the spine. Excellent. Another one for our low back or our erector tightness. We're going to take the roller, put it under our butt in a hip press position, then just laying back. This is really important, finding the position on the back that you want to put it. Find your hip bones, as if you're putting your hands on your hips, like you're mad at somebody. Okay, we want to find the top of our hips, and then along the back, that's where we want to put the roller. We do not want it on our low back on our spine. We want it to sit on those hips. Okay, so all we do from here is hip press, bring our butt up, slide it up, find our ridge here, our hip ridge, set it just there. It might feel like it's on the sacrum or on the top of our butt, okay? Making sure that it's not on the spine. All we're gonna do here is then relax our knees to one side. Okay, from this position, you might not see it here, I'll go turn the other way. Okay, we're extending this side and we're stretching out here. You might feel it a little bit in our core, you might feel it a little bit in your glutes on this side, but we're trying to stretch out this erector here, okay? Hold that for as long as you'd like until you feel a positive release. If you don't really feel anything, we might just need to reset the roller up or down a little bit, just being very cautious not to go on the spine. Okay, and then we can just reset and make sure you get both sides. Awesome. Next, we're gonna go on to rolling our lower body. So after we stretch the quad, the adductor, the hamstring, and the calf, and we still haven't really found release, or say we just did a really hard workout and we're really tight, we're probably gonna want our roller instead to actually see some change and give those muscles some relief. So let's start with the calf. Okay, important to work from the bottom of the muscle and work towards the heart. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it above the knee, really important that it's not on the knee, it's just above the knee here, okay? And we can be on our hands or we can be on our elbows. All we're doing here is holding this position and very, very slowly roll ourselves down. And we wanna scoot our elbows back down, rolling all the way down the entire length of the quad. Okay, all the way back down to the bottom. Okay, do that a couple times nice and slow. If you find a really tight spot, I want you to hold it until you feel a release there or positive change. Okay, especially if you're at home, try and take the time to release that. Okay, we can go through that a couple times before we start changing angles of our hips. Okay, once we've done that a couple times and we feel relief on the front of our quad, the next step is to just turn our hips side to side a little bit. Choose one position, one side, and then hold it. And I want us to do the exact same thing, rolling down. This can be really intense for some of us who have really tight quads, so you can use a little bit of our legs if we need to take some pressure off, or put more weight on the other leg, whatever you need, okay? Nice and slow, working down that lateral side of your quad, okay? Same thing, tilting the other way, hitting the lateral side of your quad, but not the complete lateral, okay? We're not gonna hit the IT band, we're just gonna hit the lateral side of the quad. Okay, excellent. All right, our next one is our adductors, our inside groin. If we're really tight in here and we've already stretched it, probably a good idea to roll it out as well. So what I like to do is I like to line up our roller just 45 from facing it, and then I come over top of it, and it should be perpendicular to our thigh, okay? I'm just gonna lean onto it, put it at the bottom of my knee, right above the knee cap, but at the bottom of the leg, and all I'm doing is I'm rotating my hips and leaning onto it. Okay, and I'll turn a little bit so you guys can see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm 45 from my roller. It's sitting perpendicular on my leg, and then all I'm doing is very gently inching myself down all the way up into the hip flexor, and then back up, or into the groin, sorry. And then we're just gonna work through there. Okay, this can also be pretty tender, pretty painful. So take your time with this. You can put more weight on your other leg and on your elbows. Okay? Two, I'm gonna pump together our hamstring and our calf. I like to start from the bottom. So the calf to start, especially if you're tight in the hamstring, I recommend doing the calf as well and or first, because you might find that'll give you a lot of relief. So right at the ankle, I want you to try and cross your legs. This one is a little bit tough for people with shoulder issues or a little bit heavier. This one might be a little tough. Do your best. If it doesn't work for you, you can try this guy. okay? We don't have to cross the ankle. That's just gonna make it a little bit more advanced for us. Okay, and then all we're gonna do is lift our butt up and roll down the calf. If you have a tight spot, you hold it. You can also flex your foot, and that's gonna tighten the calf up and make it more intense. It's already really tight, don't do that, keep it relaxed. Okay, we can set our butt down, walk forward a little bit, lift our butt, and slide all the way down. Make sure you go through the entire muscle belly right up to the back of the leg. Okay, and then we work our way back down. So make sure you hit both legs, and hold those tight spots. Calves are usually tight on most people because as we walk, we're constantly using those muscles. So don't be surprised if you're tight there. I guarantee most of us will. Next one, we'll just skip right to the hamstring. Starting at the back of the leg, okay? Same concept. If we want a little bit easier stretch, we'll keep both legs. And if we want it a little bit harder, we'll cross or lift the one leg up to put more tension on that hamstring. Okay, we're gonna work our way all the way up the muscle belly. Okay, all the way up, all the way back down. Okay, or both legs if you'd like. This one is a little bit difficult to actually get a good rollout. We might find we're not very tight there, you don't feel very much pain. It's a good idea to try it to start if you're really tight. Otherwise, we can try and address it when you come to the gym. All right, and another muscle we want to roll out on our low back, especially if we're tight in our squats, are our glutes. Okay, all I want us to do is sit directly on the roller, so our butt bones, our sit bones are just sitting on it there. We put our hands behind us a little bit, okay? And then we're gonna hop one leg over the other. If you can, if you can't do that because it hurts in the knee, we can just relax it down. But ideally, either here or here, okay, find a position that works for you. Once we're in that position, we lean onto that glute, okay, because we've then tightened that muscle up and we can hit it a little bit better. Okay, so once I have it tucked over, I'm rolling onto that muscle and I start right at the top, right on that butt bone. You should feel the bone hitting the roller. Okay, and we're gonna very slowly roll all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down until you hit bone of your hip. Okay, we're gonna roll through that. Ideally, you start in a more upright position. We're still lean, but only slightly. And then as that is feeling good, feeling fine, we turn more laterally. Once we hit the glute med, we're gonna find it usually is a little bit more painful, tighter here. Okay, so we can go all the way over to an almost lateral position, and we're rolling, holding if we're really tight, okay, until we feel good, and then we just reset, other side.